All right, I am trying to solve the questions around the Trinity using an AI chatbot I built. I'm hoping that I can use this chatbot to solve a lot more of those problems that are out there that have divided denominations for a long time. Here's what I did. This AI chatbot, I uploaded just the original texts, the Hebrew Old Testament and the Greek New Testament, and instructed this AI bot to only use those texts to come up with its answers. And then I started asking it questions about different topics. What I want to do here is to avoid all of the theologies built on top of theologies, built on top of traditions, built on top of creeds, and just let's get back to the basic texts and see what the analysis, like a tool that can see the entire corpus of the biblical texts, what conclusions it comes to when it can analyze all of the text together instead of just going off of what tradition has said. The reason I think this is relevant and important for us to maybe do is because when Jesus criticized the Pharisees, it was mostly because they had built traditions on top of the texts, on top of the word that God had given them, and made it into a religion that Jesus didn't even recognize as serving that God. So I'm just curious, it's been 2,000 years since Jesus came, and I'm wondering if we've done a lot of the same thing. So today we're going to start by asking it questions about the Trinity. Let's see if Jesus is God when we refer to the biblical texts apart from any Council of Nicaea. But stick around on this channel because I'm going to try to answer a lot more of these questions too. In what ways is Jesus also considered to be God? All right, so it's just telling us, it's just going to use the text from the Bible to decide this. It says Jesus is directly called God. Let's see, it says Jesus existed before creation and is the agent of creation. Okay, I often think of the creator is the definition of God. Jesus receives worship. Okay. I mean, I know that kings can receive worship and stuff, so I wouldn't think that that makes him God. Anyways, number 4, Jesus claims divine self-existence. I am the bread of life. Okay, so it's like he is the source of life. Number 5, Jesus is called Lord of all. Through Jesus Christ, this one is Lord of all. Okay, so he's in charge of everything. So Jesus exercises divine judgment. I am the one who searches kidneys and hearts. Ooh, I bet that's interesting in the other translations. I told it to give me a word-by-word translation. And I will give to each of you according to your works. Okay, that's kind of like a God function. He judges on our actions. In the Hebrew scriptures, searching hearts belongs to God alone. All right, stage 2. All right, I asked it to give relevant historical and contextual context. So apart from just looking at what it says in the text, I wanted to see if there was any relevant words that were being used by the authors because of the culture of the time. So let's see here. In Second Temple Jerusalem, I believe this is during the time that Jesus lived and the New Testament, creation, worship, final judgment, and lordship overall were actions and titles reserved for God. And we just found out those things were attributed to Jesus in the text. I'm reading that second, that bullet at the top there. To attribute these actions to a human figure without correction or protest indicates intentional elevation of status, not metaphor. Okay, the Greek texts do this repeatedly and in multiple literary genres. Okay, so what we're seeing here is that they're just consistent in ascribing Jesus lordship and being the creator and someone worth worshiping. And at this point, I'm thinking that if Jesus and God are the same being or not, effectively, if Jesus is the creator, whether God sort of commissioned him to do it or not, if he is worthy of my worship as being the best, the biggest, the king of everything, and if he's called Lord, whether his identity is fully one with God or not, I think my role in this structure is pretty well distinguished here. If he's the creator and the one worth worshiping, that's as much as I probably need to know as I go about on my daily activities. Okay, so this stage 3, I asked it to reflect elsewhere on the biblical texts, and it just says that in Genesis, God creates all things, and now John says that Jesus did the creation. Okay, and then in the Psalms and the prophets, it says that Yahweh, the God of all, searches all hearts, but then Revelation places that role in Jesus' own speech. Interesting. Oh, and here it says worship is forbidden towards humans and angels, but Jesus is supposed to receive it according to the words of the Bible. And then the Lord of all language applies to God. Huh. Okay, and it is applied to Jesus in apostolic proclamation. All right, the summary. According to the Greek New Testament you uploaded, Jesus is considered God because he is explicitly called, is that Eos? Theos? Theos. Okay, yeah. Theos means God. He pre-exists creation and creates all things. Okay, that's totally a God activity in my mind. He receives worship, and we just found out that only God is worthy of worship, and he bears divine titles. And he performs divine judgment. Okay, that is a God-like activity. And he speaks with divine self-identity. All right. So in conclusion here, all of this comes directly from the text itself without later doctrinal explanations. Okay, interesting. I don't know if I see the Trinity exactly as I had sort of been taught the simplified version of it in Sunday school, but this sure seems to help illuminate more my role in worshiping Jesus as if he is God, whether or not he is of the same DNA or whatever God has, if it's DNA or not. I'm going to be doing a series of these asking this AI bot different questions. So if you want to be part of that, follow along on the YouTube channel or come on over to our school page. It's SKOOL if you haven't heard of school, and search for the group Spiritual Disciplines Lab/gym. And feel free to check out my app too. I've tried to make a bunch of spiritual disciplines more accessible by using modern tools. It's called Creature Habits.